George here. They get Dr. J to try to sell him to come here. That's a pretty big ask, in my opinion. Hey, Doc, can you come to L.A. and sell this guy? Part of the sale is, if I'm going to come to Philadelphia, you have to guarantee me that the team's going to be good. Embiid better be there. So they then have to extend Embiid to sell Paul George.
All I'm saying is, Mike, look, you can't let the players run the team. If you can't get Paul George, you can't get Paul George. I'm sorry.
Great, but if
nobody
you're the owner,
knows, nobody
if
should have known.
And you want the turnstiles flipping around to say we can sell Joel Embiid and Paul George and Tyrese Maxey, you're going to do it.
Well, here's the thing. If you're Daryl Morey, part of your job, just like Howie Roseman, part of his job is selling ownership on what you want to do. You almost have to steer the non-expert, whether you call it lobbying, politics, whatever. That's part of your job. Mm-hmm. And you got to go in there and lobby Josh Harris. If that's what happened, you got to go in there. Look, we can get a mint for this guy. We can go win a championship. We can't count on him. We know we can't count on him. Give him to the Knicks. Let them deal with it.
I think you're 100% right on that one. But again, if you're the owner and you are looking at your golden goose, are you just letting him walk out the door? I said this yesterday. Here's what I said yesterday. Listen, this team had Charles Barkley, okay? They couldn't get out of the second round. So they couldn't get out of the second round with Charles Barkley. They eventually said, we'll trade him. They get Tim Perry, Jeff Hornacek, and Andrew Lang, which made them so bad that it led them to Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson leads them to let's be honest, that was a finals that came out of right field, and nobody expected it to happen. But after that finals, Allen Iverson led them, couldn't get out of the second round. So they trade him away for Andre Miller, Joe Smith, and 2 back end of the first round picks, which turned out to be nothing, which then eventually led them to Andrew Bynum, which we all know what happened there. And then that led us to this spot. So the Sixers keep looking at this history of get rid of this guy, trade him for nothing. And all that does is put you right back. So everybody says if you bring Embiid back.
I'm not saying now it's a waste of time. You can't get anything for him, especially with that contract. I'm saying before the Knicks got Karl-Anthony Towns, that was the time to be proactive. And it would have been. I agree,
but my point is that you are making so much money. You're top 5 in every attendance, jersey sales. You're on that. They're making money hand over fist. You're not just going to say, you know what? The guy who's bringing all the money into us. Let's just get rid of that guy.
Hey, give Lara Price her flowers. I don't think the fans that attend Sixers games or selling their tickets want to see the banner that we're top 5 in attendance.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but you know as well as I do, John, it's a business first, and Josh Harris isn't a basketball guy.
You have then if you're not doing your job and if you're not lobbying the owner properly, then you lose your job. I mean, because you don't.
I said this yesterday. Josh Harris, to me, says you can't trade Embiid. We need that guy. We got to get Paul George. We got to get people coming into this place.
I got to tell you, I don't know Josh Harris. I've never met Josh Harris. But if he's that headstrong, he doesn't understand it. Daryl Morey comes into his office and says, do you know Allie Waddington? And I'll say this if Allie's listening. If somebody can't go in that guy's office and says, you know what, we can't count on this guy. We know we can't count on this guy. You convince him that we can go out and win championships if we get this haul and we do what's right. And you trust my basketball decision-making. I don't think Daryl's proven to be, as you laid it out, he doesn't make a ton of bad decisions. No. He signed 2 bad contracts.
But this is why people say Morey did a bad job and they blame him for the George and Embiid deals. I think outside of the George and Embiid deals, pretty much everything he did was pretty darn good. The George and Embiid deals are the 2 deals that stand out like a sore thumb. And to me, there's a reason for that. The ownership group got involved.
Well, if that's the case, then he deserves some dispensation. But
and this is what I said yesterday, John. I said, Josh Harris and Bob Myers sit down with, and apparently he was disappointed by the decision, according to Tony Jones of The Athletic, which was, hey, it's our fault that we had to re-sign Embiid. That's us. Paul George, that's our fault. We're taking the blame. However, we need to change something because these fans are going to skewer us if not, and we can't get rid of Joel. We can't get rid of Paul. So you got to be the one that goes, even though it's our fault. Get out of here.
Well, then they should have fired Nick and kept him.
I think Bob Myers endorses Nick and thinks that he got a bad hand because of all this stuff.
Well, they definitely, if what you're describing and that's what Tony wrote, then they're both dealt a bad hand. Nick Nurse and Daryl Morey, and it's Josh Harris's fault, which I can buy. I can buy that.
Yeah.
But as a GM, you're judged on results. We all know that, just like coaches,
and one
just
thing,
like players.
To tie it to the Eagles, Howie Roseman evolved as a GM. He got shoved in the broom closet. He came back out, and he evolved as a GM from where he was. Daryl Morey has.
Well, he's also got a better owner.
But Daryl Morey has not evolved as the GM of the team. He's still building teams the way that he built them with the Rockets. Because he said, I had success then. We were one, game away. Let's recreate that, where he gets star players and then the team is very depleted underneath of them. This league is depth and athletes and rotating guys in and out. And you get to the playoffs and the Sixers played 7 guys because they didn't have anything, because all their money is tied into those 3 guys at the top. So I'm not saying Daryl isn't on board with those particular guys, but they might not have been the guys he would have picked.
No, well, I agree. But yeah, well, you never have the guys you would have picked completely. But, here's the bottom line. 2 things can be true at once. And I don't understand. You can say when it comes to Joel Embiid, you can say tons of bad luck. It's a shame what could have been. And you can also say, realistically and honestly, I can't count on this guy. Both things can be true. And I think more people have to realize that both things can be true. Phenomenal talent, bad luck, I can't count on. Simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
And people need to reach the end of that road and put a period on.
The 2 season, Embiid's the MVP. Then the next year, he probably is having a better year than the 1 year that he won the MVP. And he's still 28, 29 at that time. And you're thinking, if I sign him to this extension, he'll be 34. So we're going to get his prime 30, 31, 32. Now, you might say, the guy can't stay healthy. They're looking at the guy who just won the MVP and then was having a better season. And they're thinking, hey, let's get him now, because if we wait until the end and he's having MVP seasons, we're really going to have to pay him. So it's almost like the Ryan Howard thing. You sign him early so you get the discount instead of letting him outperform, and then you have to pay him more, and it blew up in their face.
Yeah, I find it very hard to believe from the people that I do talk to that were covering the team that organization didn't know they couldn't count on that guy. I find that very hard to believe. I find that very hard to believe.
I agree. And again, it goes back to, I think the ownership group, look, the Devils, I don't know what, they're like a rudderless ship over there. Who the heck knows how much involvement he has with the Devils. I did talk about this 2 years ago. The Washington franchise in football has been an utter embarrassing disaster. His first year, everybody around was talking about how the culture has changed and how great it is. They went to the NFC Championship game. So he came into a down, rotten organization, and in the first year got them to the NFC Championship game, and then followed it up by trying to sign and make moves. So Harris has spent money. He has said, listen, you think Deebo Samuel's the right guy? Go ahead and get him. Let's get. So that's a weird dynamic that the Washington Commander organization has been an embarrassment for basically.
Yeah. Well, that tells you about the in that situation he looks great. In this
But
situation, he
John,
looks
correct me if
awful.
I'm wrong. Around NFL, people were lauding them for the culture change over there.
Oh yeah, well look where they started, Daniel Snyder.
Exactly. But my point is, so I think part of the problem is he puts a lot of trust into his decision makers. You know, he got Adam Peters and just says, look, you run this thing. I'll trust what you're saying. And so I think he did that with here. But in some instances, I think it's like, hey, listen, there's a couple things you can't do. We need Joel Embiid here because I need that turnstile turning. He's the guy. Look at the jerseys in that crowd. There's 21s all over the place. You can't get rid of him.
Well, he made a mistake then. Then you can't fire the owner. Then.
This isn't like a rarity in sports. Ownerships have guys that they think make them money. Allen Iverson stayed here till 2006, not because they thought they could win a championship, because if they got rid of him, they didn't think anybody would show up.
Well, I have a tough time making that comparison because there were a lot of problems with AI, different.
Same with Joel. Look at this. You just talked about it.
But he showed up and he played,
Right, but he was available.
He might have been out in Atlantic City till 4 a.m. And
it does right, but 220, 221, it's just a different problem. The Sixers
I would much rather have the problem of being able to.
It doesn't matter what problem you want. The point is, the Sixers were willing to put up with the problem because he was a draw.
I think it does matter. I think it does matter because I can game plan with Allen Iverson and know he's showing up. Whereas if he shows up at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock,
I understand that. But my point is, they were not winning a championship with Allen.
Well, I'm not.